Hi, I'm Claire, and today we are going to talk about things that we would want to steal from SFF worlds. This is the final topic for the BooktubeSFF Babbles this year. If you've not heard of the Babbles before, they are topics of conversation that are suggested by the BooktubeSFF Awards team to just encourage conversation on BooktubeSFF and, any other platform as well, really. So if you'd like to chat with us about not just the books that are nominated for the BooktubeSFF Awards, but also just SFF things in general, you can participate in the BooktubeSFF Babbles. But before we get to the main topic of this video, I wanted to let you know, or to remind you if you've seen before and it might have slipped your mind, that we have extended the reading period for the BooktubeSFF Awards. We have moved the schedule a little bit just because we know that with COVID-19 and lockdown, things are very stressful. There are disruptions everywhere, and you might have more time for reading, but you might have less time for reading. You might just not be in the mood for reading. So we just wanted to make sure that everybody has time to do all of the reading and that we are not an additional stressor for you in your life. But without further ado, let's talk about the things that I would steal from SFF worlds. This is such a fun topic. There was actually a Top 5 Wednesday about this very topic many years ago that I did on my channel, so I will link this video in the description and in a card. I actually rewatched it in prep for this video, and I have to say I stand behind pretty much everything that I said at that time. I was talking about wanting like a Babelfish from Hitchhiker's Guide to do translation for me, or a TARDIS, because that also does translation on top of, traveling anywhere and anywhen, and maybe a time turner so that if I'm tired I can do a few more turns to snooze the alarm clock, but with time travel kind of thing. If you're hearing me talk about the things that I want to steal and you're like, but there's this really obvious thing you've not mentioned, that's probably because I was trying not to repeat myself from that older video, so I will link that and you can go and watch it if you'd like to know even more things that I would absolutely still steal from SFF worlds. So for this new list, the first item that I've got my eye on is a gown. Pretty much any clothing, but if I could nitpick, maybe a gown would do well. A gown from Monstrous by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. This book is just so gorgeous. If you've read this before, you will know it is kind of like silk punk, fantasy, secondary world, but the clothing in it is just gorgeous. Now, I don't really want to open up the book and show you the clothing as featured in the book because it's quite hard to find a page of this comic where the clothing is not covered in blood and gore. But as you can see from the cover, even the rather simple clothing that Micah Halfwolf is wearing here is just really beautiful. I'm not sure that this type of tunic or whatever would fit me super well, but there's a lot of really gorgeous, intricate decorative metal work going on. You'd feel like $1,000,000. You'd probably feel like you're looking around to see if there's demons coming out of anywhere because this book is so violent, but you'd also feel like $1,000,000. For my second item, I'm going back to my old teenage fave, Dragon Riders of Pern by Anne McCaffrey, and more specifically, Dragon Singer. Because in Dragon Singer, we are introduced to bubbly pies, and I want to steal bubbly pies from that world with a passion. Because the bubbly pies are so lovingly described in this book, Dragon Singer is essentially a boarding school book, and one of the main chapters in the book sees an outing to a fair that's come round near the Harper Hall where the book is set, and our main characters go to eat bubbly pies. One of the stalls they go to is a baker's that sells them bubbly pies, and the pies are coming out of the oven, bright and hot and crispy and bubbling with berries and juices, and they just cram them into their gullets. And I read that as a teenager and went yes, I want to eat those, please. They never really described what the pies are in terms of your ability to recreate it and bake it. Like, there's nothing about like what type of crust it is and how it's made and what it resembles. So I have no idea if they're just like a berry tartlet or something, although it doesn't seem like it because it was so very hot. I guess I always formed an idea of it in my head that now, as someone who bakes regularly, I have no idea how I would achieve it, because the idea I have in my head like meshes different desserts together in a way that I don't think would actually works in terms of like making it happen in the oven. But if it did, it would be delicious, and so I just want it. Next up, I would like to steal a charm from the Chrestomancy books by Diana Wynne Jones. Specifically, the charm that you can put on objects so that if someone takes them away from you, it goes, "I belong to Chrestomancy Castle! I belong to Chrestomancy Castle!" I feel like that would be super useful to have if you're going on holiday, if you're going to a convention, if you're going anywhere where you're going to just have a bunch of stuff and you don't want to lose anything or have anything pickpocketed or whatever. You know, you just make sure that everything that's in your bag has the charm on it, so that if someone tries to pinch something from you, or if you misplace an item, it goes, "I belong to Claire Rousseau! I belong to Claire Rousseau!" And then you're like, "Well, that's me. Where is it?" You can pick it up and then, get on your merry way. I'm just saying this would have been very helpful for me when I was at Worldcon in London in 2014 and I left my house keys at the convention center. Thankfully, someone had brought them to the Lost and Found, and I was able to phone the convention center from the steps of my house and describe the keys well enough that they were willing to send them to me via courier, but it was very inconvenient and expensive, and if the keys had just yelled at me when I dropped them, it would have been much, much better. My next pick is from the graphic novel On a Sunbeam by Tilly Walden, and it's basically like a little flying bumper car. Every spaceship in this science fiction graphic novel is like fish shaped and looks just so beautiful and gorgeous when it's like floating in space with some fins and stuff. And these little bumper cars also look like fish. There's a game that they play. It's also a boarding school book in part. And when they are at the boarding school, they do a sport that uses those like flying bumper cars. I mean, I guess imagine Quidditch, but instead of being on a broomstick, you're on a little fish-looking bumper car thingy, I guess is the best way that I can describe it. I'm obviously going to put up some pictures from the book so that it's easier for you to see, because it is a graphic novel, so I have the luxury of doing that. But I think those are adorable, and that sport seemed like so much fun. If it involved flying, I would do more sports, because that sounds fun. And the final thing I'd love to steal from SFF is from the Discworld by the late great Sir Terry Pratchett. Of course, there are many things that I'd love to steal from Discworld, but the one that I was thinking of recently is the little imp that Captain Sam Vimes in the Guards books at one point gets as a personal assistant almost. I know it's a parody, right? I know you're supposed to agree with Vimes that the little imp guy who is his calendar and is reminding him about his appointments is annoying. I get that that's what Vimes thinks and we're supposed to sympathize with him, but I am really bad at remembering things. I will put reminders for things and then I will put an alarm on the reminder so it tells me 15 minutes before that I have to go do the thing, and in that time I still manage to have my mind wander 5 different ways and miss the thing. So I feel like if the reminder were capable of knowing that I hadn't done it, not just a to-do list, not just something with timings on it and reminders and stuff. I mean, I'm just saying I need a PA, which is a bit ridiculous because I am a PA to John as part of my job. Oh dear, maybe I'm just a mess, but when I read it the first time and Vimes was talking about how annoying this thing is, I was just like, it just sounds really practical, mate. Maybe you need it. I'm pretty sure Lady Sybil gives it to him because he's bad at maintaining his appointments, and I feel like that is a sign. That is a very, very clear sign that Sybil is giving you that you need to be better at keeping your appointments. So that's it. These are 5 things that I'd love to steal from SFF worlds. Let me know what you would have picked, and if you did this video yourself, or if you did a blog post or an Instagram post or a Twitter thread or whatever, do let me know, because I'd love to see everybody's takes on the BooktubeSFF Babbles. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you very, very soon. If you'd like to see more from me, you can check out a previous video on screen right now. And if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button that's on my face for a new video from me every week. I've been Claire, thanks so much for watching, and see you soon.